What's up, YouTube? It's another day with the one and only Billy J. And this is my review of episode 13 of 13 Reasons Why, now on Netflix. And being episode 13, it is the 13th tape, and that is the last episode of 13 Reasons Why. And who was the 13th reason why for Hannah Baker? None other than Counselor Porter. And I have a question. Is this being taken place in the future? Throughout the episode, they have scenes of the students who were subpoenaed being interrogated. And on the little thing, on the film, it has that it's taking place, being recorded of November of 2017. So that means there's still time to save Hannah Baker. We can right all the wrongs and Hannah could still be alive if we act now. But anyway, Hannah Baker asks Tony to borrow a tape recorder, and she gives him an excuse that it's some kind of project that she's working on, even though she really has no idea about tape recorders, because she's like, oh, and I just use these tapes that my parents sell at their store. And luckily, this tape recorder that she's using has just the big record button, because they used to have like this small red record button that you had to push that, and the bigger button for play to record. But as we all know, what her project was to come up with these tapes of why she's going to commit suicide. And we hear Hannah Baker explain her reasonings for why certain people were on the list. For Justin and Jessica, they simply broke Hannah's heart. Alex, Courtney, Tyler, and Marcus apparently destroyed Hannah's reputation. And Zach and Ryan broke her spirit. And of course, Bryce broke her soul. And as Hannah's explaining, after she finished her 12 tapes, her 12 reasons why, at that point, she kind of felt relieved. She felt relieved to get it all off her chest, and she decided to give life one last chance. But she wanted to get some help to help her through this tough time. In the present time, Tony stops by Clay's house, and Clay's like all ecstatic and presents Tony with the 14th tape. And he wants Tony to make copies. Clay even plays Bryce's confession for Tony. And at first, Tony has some reservations and says that this blows up the entire world. It was Courtney's turn to testify in the deposition, and when she was asked whether or not she and Hannah were friends, Courtney had this to say.
You consider Hannah a friend?
Not really. An acquaintance would be more accurate.
Then the attorney shows Courtney a picture, and of course that picture is of her and Hannah macking out, and he asks her to explain this. Meanwhile, Clay meets up with Jessica at Monet's, and he is such a sweet, caring guy. And he pulls out the tapes and offers them to Jessica to do with them whatever she wants to do. She can burn them or she can release them to the world. Jessica is very reserved and scared because she doesn't want the knowledge of her getting raped to get out and then her get victim blamed, like unfortunately happens in today's world. Clay goes to leave and Jessica yells at him to stop, and then tells Clay to not bring the tapes to the deposition. Waiting for Jessica outside of Monet's is Justin. Yay, Justin is alive, so we know that Justin is obviously not the one that had the gunshot wound. And neither is Clay, of course. But Justin is clearly upset and wants to talk to Jessica and kind of make up. Justin is so upset and he's in tears, and he admits that he wanted to kill himself the night prior, but didn't because all he kept thinking about was Jessica, and he can't stop thinking about Jessica. And Jessica was pretty cold-hearted. In response, Justin offered to do anything for Jessica, even kill Bryce. What do you want, Jessica? Just tell the man what to do and he will do it.
What I want is never to see you again in my life.
Damn, that's cold-hearted. But please don't kill yourself, Justin. There's been enough death in this small town. Well, we learned that Bryce is alive, at least for now, because he's at batting practice with Monty. He lies to Monty about how he got the bruises all over his hands, and he says that he punched the wall the night prior. In the past, apparently like the next day or whatever at school, Bryce is being praised by the school announcer about his accomplishments at the game. And he walks past Hannah and gives her this creepy wink. And according to Hannah, she said she saw darkness all around, but there was a beacon of hope, a beacon of light, and that light was Clay. Clay comes up to her locker and they have some small talk, but Hannah doesn't even open up to her only beacon of light being Clay. She doesn't tell him anything and just merely walks away. Where does she go? She goes off and talks to Counselor Porter. And when she's talking to Counselor Porter, she's obviously kind of like upset and sad and mopey. And she talks very vaguely. Also, who comes in to talk to Counselor Porter? In the present time, it's Clay. And Clay obviously wants to talk about Hannah Baker. Was Hannah recording her talks with Counselor Porter? When she was talking to him, she kept speaking in generalities. She hinted that something happened, like a rape, but she didn't say specifically that she was raped, and she wouldn't give him the name of the rapist, and she didn't want to press charges against the rapist. She just wanted to be promised that her rapist be sent to jail, and for her to never see him again. And unfortunately, no one can promise that. Because as we all know, rapists get away with raping all the time, even if they do go to trial. And Counselor Porter did the best that he could do with what limited knowledge that she was offering him. And he gave her some options. But unfortunately, if Hannah wasn't going to give up a name or press charges, then Counselor Porter was pretty blunt about it, but it is the only option left, and that is for her to kind of move on. And Hannah clung to that phrase, that blunt phrase, and she left the office because she was moving on. And then apparently Hannah expected Mr. Porter to come just rushing after her because she stopped by the machine and was like, "He's not coming out, he's not coming." Like it's some movie. And then she just leaves the office after just standing there looking like an idiot whispering into her bag, and then she walks down the hallway and she narrates.
I think I've made myself very clear. But no one's coming forward to stop me. Some of you cared. None of you cared enough.
And she claims that no one reached out to her. But honey, you gotta reach out as well. And your only beacon of light, according to you being Clay, he reached out, but you just kind of blew him off and then went to go see Counselor Porter. And the librarian, which she had a little crush on, he reached out to her at the post office when she was dropping off the tapes to be delivered to somebody's house.
Hannah.
Oh, hey, Robert.
Hi, so good to see you. We missed you.
You have?
At the group. Linda even wrote a poem about it.
Oh, well, I don't really write poetry anymore.
That's too bad. Well, come visit sometime anyway, okay?
Yeah.
Don't be a stranger.
Okay.
In the present time, Clay narrates to Mr. Porter the events after she left the office, with her putting together the tapes and sending them out, her returning the uniform back to the Crestmont. going to the post office to send off the tapes, getting dressed, and killing herself in the bathtub. And that scene is extremely graphic and realistic and heartbreaking. Clay's story brings Mr. Porter to tears. Mr. Porter claims that there's no way of knowing what was going through Hannah's mind at the time, and there's no way of knowing why Hannah killed herself. And Clay says, yes there is, and he whips out the tapes. And he explains that Mr. Porter is the last tape, and everyone before him on the tapes knows what he did and did not do. And Clay added a tape 14 to help Mr. Porter decide what to do with the tapes after he was done. Before leaving the office, Clay had some words of wisdom.
It has to get better. The way we treat each other and look out for each other. It has to get better somehow.
And Clay goes out into the busy hallway with dramatic music of a cover of Yazoo's Only You playing all dramatically, and he runs into Sky and suggests that they go skip school and go hang out. And at first I thought this was going to be the end of the episode. It is very kind of poignant, but no, it's not the end of the episode. Then we have a scene with my boy Tyler, and he's at home all dressed up, and his time for his deposition is coming up. But we see him in his room, and he's putting away his guns and ammo and canisters in this box. I knew it. I called it. Tyler is going to go on a shooting rampage in the next season. Tony stops by the Bakers at their shop, and he admits that he's been keeping secrets for Hannah. And he hands them a thumb drive that has audio files on them, which are obviously copies of the tapes, and he tells them to listen to them in order. Then we cut back to the deposition, and my boy Tyler is being interrogated and filmed, obviously. And he describes his experiences at the school with being bullied. He talks about Hannah being slut-shamed by the rest of the school. And he says that he has photos. And then Tyler drops the biggest of all bombs and says that there are tapes. And the last person that he knows that has the tapes is our boy Clay. Zach is at the basketball court blowing off some steam, and he notices his phone is being blown up by Alex, and he decides to call him back. Jessica is now being questioned in the deposition, and she says,
because guys talk at our school, and they do shit. They do things to girls that no one ever talks about and no one ever does anything about.
The lawyer for the Bakers tried to press her for more specifics, but then Hannah's mom tells him to pull up and not go on with those questionings. And then he asks Jessica if she has knowledge of these tapes, and then she just straight up denies it. And she's kind of upset because she thought that Clay dropped the knowledge of the tapes and he wasn't supposed to. And then we see Justin with Bryce outside the liquor store. So obviously Bryce is still alive, even though I thought he was dead. And apparently it's revealed that Justin skipped the deposition and didn't go at all. Bryce questions Justin how Clay knew about Hannah, and then Justin drops the bomb about how there's these tapes that Hannah made explaining why she killed herself. And everybody knows what Bryce did to Hannah and Jessica. And it was at this point I thought Justin was going to pull out the gun and shoot Bryce, but he just merely walks away. After the deposition in her room, Jessica is talking with her dad because he sees obviously that she's upset and everything, and she finally admits what happened to her. Then we see our boy Tyler in the film room, and he's hanging up photos that he's processed. And there are various students, like the newest one was our boy Clay, and then there's other students that are hanging up, And then when he gets to a photo of Alex, he looks at it and remembers a time when Alex saved him from being beat up, and then he pulls that photo down. And then we see the rest of the photos, and they're of the rest of the members of the Legion of Doom and our boy Clay, who brought down this whole bullying thing on Tyler as well. Damn, my boy Tyler wants revenge on Clay. Mr. Porter was in some back storage room or whatever, and he was looking for a boombox to play the tapes. Luckily, this school still had this old technology, and for whatever reason, this school had tons of these old radios. And what does he do? He pops in his very own tape, the last tape, to listen to what he did. And then the principal comes in and tells him that Alex had shot himself the previous night and he was at Mercy Hospital. Then we see Hannah's parents listening to the audio files on the thumb drive together. And the final scene, we see Clay, Sky, Tony, and his boyfriend Craig just driving off somewhere on a road trip. Overall, I thought the series was a very good series. It was a kind of realistic look at high school, especially nowadays with the bullying and everything like that. There are some kind of unrealistic things, like why would she record on cassette tapes? But overall, I thought the series was very, very good, excellent. There's obviously some inconsistencies here and there, but overall it didn't disrupt my enjoyment of the series. Some of the people I obviously thought didn't deserve a tape, but I'll make another video expressing of all the people who deserved tapes and who didn't, and ultimately who was to blame for Hannah's suicide. So leave a comment down below on your thoughts of this episode and of the series. And remember, peace, love, unity, respect. Peace out, guys.